introduce the first person who's a part of the Chop Shop today, which is our very first one. I did want to give everybody the updates of, I hope everybody's getting the newsletter. We are currently working on the actual website to get all the content up there. And the goal here is that by the time we have our next meeting in July, the website will be completely up and running. We will be pulling people in via email to ask you for comments and questions and just statements that maybe we can put on the website as well. So exciting. We're going to start off with somebody who, again, truly admire, and while I admire all the speakers, this gentleman, I know he's been pulled in multiple directions, is Todd, and he has joined us today to talk a little bit about, again, I guess a little bit about everything, those wins, those losses, those challenges, and what his needs might be right now in the industry. So for our first speaker of the Chop Shop, which was named by 𝘀𝗶𝘶, Todd, the floor is yours.
Man, I got put on blast first, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. That'll teach me for not showing up. No, I appreciate that, and super happy to be here with everybody. And so yeah, Sean called me the other day. I knew I shouldn't have picked the phone up, but I missed talking to him, so I said, let me pick the phone up. So yeah, so a couple of things, and I had just written down some notes because when Sean sent the email, it did cause me to stop and think a little bit about what are my answers to some of these things. And I think so thinking about it from a perspective of kind of what am I doing today, what are some of the wins, what are some of the challenges, and where do I think I need some help. I'll kind of go through it in that order, and I will promise I will stick to my 12 minutes, Sean. So in terms of what I do today, I'm responsible for, kind of all of operations for what started as a company called 𝘀𝗽𝗲𝘁, which many of you may have heard of. What has transpired since that time is, 𝘀𝗽𝗲 got acquired by Verisk Analytics. And then through that acquisition, we've done some additional acquisitions. So Contact State, which is a small business out of the UK, and then most recently Infutor, which is an identity resolution company. And so since that time, I've been expanding my responsibility to oversee operations for all three businesses. And as part of that, we're looking to really create this vertical within Verisk Analytics called Verisk Marketing Solutions, which is where we spend most of our time. And so that's where my day-to-day happens. And so when we think about that from the perspective of who my clients are, right, as it relates to the work that I do, this new business unit, Verisk Marketing Solutions, everybody in this business is my client, right? I'm trying to really create an environment for the team here that they can, one, bring their best selves to work and feel like they can be successful and they can actually grow. But at the same time, we're also trying to create this environment for Verisk where, as a company, Verisk can really be successful. And look, we want to be a mover and a difference maker in the marketing arena, because it's an area that Verisk, they didn't have any presence. They were more on the risk and underwriting side. And so we're creating this space for Verisk in a world where it's all new to them. And so as part of that, really trying to grow that footprint within the business. When we talk about kind of the goals as part of that, beyond creating a space for people to succeed, there's really a couple things that I jotted down. It's really creating this scalable and efficient organization that really maximizes the opportunity and the value for customers, for our team, right, our broader team, and for me personally, frankly, right, is how can I make sure that as I'm doing this, I'm seeing opportunities for myself. There's also a view of this, which is just creating this view of organizational alignment and readiness that is always forefront and front and center for me, because my goal in life here is to put myself out of a job, frankly. I want to be in a position where I can set up an organization and that organization run. And for me personally, that's success, right? Where I don't have to be the person, because, you know, today I am the person, like, and it's happening all the time. And it's like, it's not a way to run a business. So anyway, that's kind of what I do today. For me, where I've been having some success personally and from business, I look at it in three aspects. There's professional growth, there's personal growth, and there's financial growth. And honestly, I feel like I've been winning in all three of those areas in different ways. And it's a huge call out to people who I've come in contact with, who've helped me see different opportunities over the years in each of those areas. So from a professional standpoint, you know, again, and some of you may have heard when I chatted last time, this was a plan. Like, getting to this point was a plan. I'll tell you, the whole acquisitions and then taking more business units, not necessarily, but being in the right place at the right time has allowed that to be what it is today. So super happy about that. I think the other thing for me from a personal perspective is, I tell people all the time, the success I've had in my career, it's been because of work, but it's also been just because of relationships that I've built along the way and people that I've connected with. Because you know, I say this a little bit tongue in cheek, like I'm never the smartest guy in the room, but I do make sure I attach myself to smart folks like the folks on this call who can help push, drive, pull, you know, drag along, whatever, and then just learning from those things. And then look, part of our lives is the financial aspect of what we do. And while it isn't everything, it certainly creates opportunities for other things, whether it be for us individually, for loved ones, or for our community. And we talk about, you know, bringing others along. My goal is to, yes, I always want to make sure my family is well taken care of, but I also do want to make sure that as part of that, from a financial perspective, my family and I are able to give back to others in other ways. And that happens through this. So this just isn't all about, you know, how much can I make? It's how much can I make and actually make useful in the community that I serve. And then, you know, when we talk about challenges, for me, you know, one of the biggest challenges that I have is time. And time, because of everything that's happening right now, right? It's that precious commodity that we all struggle to figure out how to balance. And so, you know, in the world that I sit in today, I'm literally, I was just having this conversation the other day, in a 30-minute window, context switching can happen 6 times for me, where like 6 different topics that I'm having to context switch on. And what that means for me is I never feel like that I can give my best to any one of those, right? I'm doing it just to get through it. So, you know, I think time is something that we all struggle to figure out. But there are, I would say, what I've been trying to do is learn different techniques and get better at different techniques on what are things I could be doing. And maybe it's partially me, and then maybe it's just partial learning or a combination of the two. But that also leads me to the fact that, you know, and just transparently, like, I don't feel like because of all those things, I'm able to connect with this team or other teams as much as I would love to, just to see how are folks doing. You know, Sean, where are you at this week? What are you learning this week, right? Things of that nature. And networking for me, as I said, is just part of how I got to where I am. But I feel like as I've grown, that's become a little bit less of what I'm able to do. And that's an area for me personally that, you know, I look to try and extend. And so I think in a nutshell, that's kind of what's going on right now. Right now, it's really about growing this thing called Verisk Marketing Solutions that's going to have a significant impact within the Verisk analytics arena. And, you know, still continuing to find an opportunity for what you guys know as 𝘀𝗎𝗎 and 𝘊𝑚𝑓𝑢tur to be part of different industries like, LGW and LeadsCon and PACE and CCC and all those things in a way that's meaningful. The last thing I'll say, and then I promise I'll shut up, is I actually went to the headquarters of Verisk yesterday. And this goes back to something Sean was mentioning. And I was in a room, they did a sales training. There was about 200 people in the room. And at one point I stood up just because I got tired of sitting. And as I looked across the room, there were three African-Americans in the room, me being one of them. The other two, one was a male, one was a female. And it was just a stark realization that there is a lot of work to do. And I'll tell you, Verisk as a whole, as did 𝘀𝗎𝗎, we do invest and we are spending time, but there's still work to do. And so, for me personally, how can I be more active in that as well? Because if I talk about the professional, the personal, and the financial, I think personally for me, that would be a big win to start to see this thing move in a way that is very, very important for us as a people and for quite frankly, just for society as a whole. So that's my quick, what am I up to?
Thank you so much for that. I think that we all could can kind of grow from that situation. If anybody has any books or any information about sharing in regards to, how to balance time that they thought was maybe interesting, because again, I know that I have issues with that as well. Time is truly the commodity that seems to run all over the place and don't run out of it. So if anybody has things to share, this is about a community. So I'm hoping that what we heard was not only incredible knowledge from Todd, but also the fact of some of the things that he might need. And this is where we can all kind of step in to sit back and say, hey, you know what, this was useful for me. Maybe there's one nugget of the 10 that you're able to provide that helps. And then maybe there's also the fact is having it where I hear what I heard in his statement was about the fact of, again, what his end goal was. What is our end goal? What is our why? What is our vision? What is our mission individually at our workplace of work? And how can we continue to grow in that regards? And making sure that the picture is bigger than us. Because he just stated the fact is, guess what, is to work his butt off, have no time, deal with 6 things at one time, but then build it enough where it doesn't even need him. Wow. Again, so something to question, but again, community, we sit back and we learn. For our next speaker, we want to give the floor over to Mr. Chad Williamson.
All right, fantastic. Thanks so much. And Todd, great seeing you. That was really great information. It's funny because I felt like 𝘀𝗎𝗎 started focusing primarily on the education industry. We got our first late ID platform. It wasn't called 𝘀𝗎𝗎 then, back in, I want to say 2013. Todd, does that sound right? And no one else was using it. It was, the TCPA came out, education put everything on hold, and basically said, we can't take any call center leads until we figure this out. We owned a center down in Tucson at the time. And, we thought it'd be a 1-week pause or a 2-week pause. Ended up being a 6-month pause. We had to close down our center and everything. And so I say that because it's a perfect segue into my introduction. My name is Chad Williamson. I'm the CEO of ESP Inc. and Fluid Education. And we are a performance marketing, lead generation, customer acquisition, business development based organization. ESP Inc., our legal name is Education Solutions Providers. We started in 2008, focused 100% on the education industry, leads, transfers, and really thought that was it. If anyone asked us who we were as a company, we would say we were a business development firm focusing on partnership development, customer acquisition in the education space. And then dun, 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 TCPA came out, call centers got shut down. And we realized once we came back out of it and got everything rolling again, the end of 2013, we said, never again would we be so one-dimensional that one change in the industry could literally, turn our entire company upside down. And so we moved into the insurance spaces, auto insurance first, and then home insurance. And those were our 3 verticals. And it worked very nicely because my little light just went out. So if I like suddenly got darker, it's got to be recharged. And so the data for education worked well in EDU, right? It was just average income, everyday American, you know, just looking to save money, make money, and increase their success. The home data ended up leading us into solar. I'll tell you a really quick funny story. My business development rep at that time came back and said, hey, we started up a solar campaign, you know, we're doing, you know, a couple hundred leads or 100 leads a day or something. It's like, okay, cool. What are we getting? He's like, $19 or $20 per lead. I was like, great, cool, whatever. You know, I didn't know anything about it. It's just extra revenue. And then I was on a call with someone, and I always try to finish a call like this, chop talk. What else you working on? What else you seeing? You know, where else are you finding success? And we had literally finished a whole call around EDU, and we didn't have anything we could work on. They're like, yeah, we're doing solar really big right now. We're like, oh, we just got into solar. Cool. He's like, yeah, it's really, a lot of our folks are going there. We're making like $60 per transfer. I literally choked on what I was eating. I said, wait, what? $60 per transfer. He's like, yeah, that's the industry standard. I called my, you know, what are we making? He's like, yeah, $19 per transfer. This is why knowledge is power. So I literally canceled all my meetings for that week. Just kind of started doing all my research on solar, found out we were being underpaid, found a lot of great buyers, and that became a huge vertical for us. We ended up getting like 50, our first person we talked to offered us $50 per transfer. And it was great. And so we just continued to grow and expand in all these different verticals. And now we work across all insurances, auto, home, health, life, which includes Medicare, final expense. Education is still an area. And then we're testing. We're moving into the legal space in a lot of different areas, mostly motor vehicle DUI and other areas. So really at the end of the day, there really isn't much we can do. If we've got a great data set, we generate our leads and transfers both through call center, through social media, search engine marketing, as well as through email marketing. And so we are a omni-channel performance marketing organization. Now, that being said, you know, those 2 companies are specifically in this area. That's why I mentioned them. I own a real estate brokerage firm in Florida. We're in the process of opening up offices in 2 other states. We're buying the majority ownership stake of a construction company, real estate development company here in Charlotte. Part of the reason why we moved out here, and we'll be doing residential affordable housing as well as commercial. And here's the kind of the catch point to those and why I even brought them up. The idea was, out of the 3.2 million realtors across the nation, only 6% of them are Black. Some of the same issues that we see here in our industry. And so if people don't have the knowledge to impart back into their own communities, then those communities have no place to go to get this information. And so when we have so few Blacks in the real estate professions, then people don't have the comfort of looking up to have questions answered, to be more informed. And so we thought if we could expand and create a national real estate growth brokerage firm that focuses on minorities, Black and brown people having access to real estate. We're talking about a 3-month training to get a certificate that can pay you for the rest of your life. The process is we'll sponsor individuals to go and get their training, to get their real estate brokerage, real estate license. And then when they pass their test and do their first commission, they have to then sponsor 2 people. So it continues to grow and evolve. And then we want to empower those individuals with understanding how to get into their community and show people that, you know, prior to the pandemic, and please stop me if I'm wrong, Matt, right? This is your specialty. Prior to the pandemic starting, you could get approved with as low as a 580 credit score for to purchase a home. They like you to be at 600, but 580. There were programs out there for a 580 credit score. Do you know how many people we know that think there's no way in hell they could ever own a home that have a 580 credit score, that are paying $1,500, $1,600, $1,800 a month in rent, that with the down payment assistance programs that are in their markets could have gotten into a home? We had a lender that was doing a 500 out of pocket to close program. Matt, was that accurate? Flag me if I'm wrong.
No, you're correct.
Okay.
You are correct.
That's huge, right? And so knowledge becomes power. And then so we look up and we say, man, we've got people who are out here building homes, minorities who are tradesmen and craft professionals that don't have enough business because people aren't giving the business to them. So if we can begin not just building and empowering ourselves, but empowering other builders to build under our umbrella, then we can begin to expand into other models. And then the commercial is around the idea of empowering minorities to go after these commercial set-asides that are for state, local, and federally contracted development opportunities that literally, if they just get the Minority Diversity Supplier Council and their 8A certifications and hub zones certifications, like they're almost guaranteed if they can perform the work to be able to get contracts. So how do we get people empowered to grow and to create success? And that's why I'm on these calls, right? I created my life around being able to make a difference. I saw my mother, when my father passed, she, got his pension, she got some insurance money, and she didn't have to work anymore. So she retired early from the federal government. And then she went on to lead like 2 nonprofit organizations, volunteered to teach adults how to read, and helping people that had gotten denied for Social Security benefits and disability benefits to be their representative in arbitration and court hearings to try to get them benefits. And I'm like, you worked 4 times as hard and as long as you did when you were getting paid. And I was like, I will never do that. I want to be rich. But I saw that growing up, and I knew that wanting to give back and make it a difference, especially we're in a position to be able to do that, is so important. And so that's crafted what I've done and what I've built and what we're building. And I've got a wonderful new partner, a year and a half now, in Sean, and he sees things a lot like I do similarly, and how can we go out and affect change in as many areas as we possibly can. And so that's who I am. That's what I do. I do still want to be filthy rich. So that hasn't changed. I don't want you guys to, be like, oh, he's good, he's fine. No, bring me opportunity. So last night I was on the Ringba platform, and Bill Bornman from Next Level, there's a company he runs. He was putting out requesting funding if anyone's looking to private equity fund a company. And he just had like a 1-pager. So I downloaded it and I looked at it. And in 2020, this is all public information, so I'm not giving away trade secrets. 2020, they did $1.7 million, and our company does more than that. In 2021, they did 7.1 million. And this year they're projected to do like 10.1 or 10.2. And my company's not doing that. So, but I told my team, some leaders on our team, just last week, like, there's no reason why we can't be at $10 million a year by the end of next year. There's no reason. We see the model, we see what it takes. We've got to scale, we've got to replicate. And instead of getting so caught in the delivery model, we have to constantly be growing even while we're delivering. And I think that's what we're doing. We're shifting our focus. Kind of like Todd said earlier, when you're doing multiple things, there's no such thing as multitasking. Science has said it's actually impossible. What you get really, really good at doing is shifting your focus very, very quickly between multiple different tasks, and quickly getting back on task and delivering focused energy on that task in the least amount of time. And we call it multitasking, when in reality, it's just individually tasking a bunch of things much faster than normal people are able to process. And so we've got to get better at that, so that we're not just going like, oh, we've got this big opportunity, let's narrowly focus on that and get it up and going, and then do another one. And that part of that is going to be growth and expansion, strategic partnerships with other individuals, here on this call and within our industry that we can collaborate with and grow with. And so I would say where I could use assistance is, we have a great call center in the Philippines that we've got an ownership stake in. And we want to grow and scale that. We're using a lot of third-party partners and contracted centers, and all of our issues from fraud or anything like that, non-compliant data, that's where they come from when they're out of our control. So we want to bring all that back home. So finding really good quality data is probably the most important thing that we need for our long-term growth, success, and scalability. And then always, in addition to that, finding new opportunities with new clients in any of those verticals that we currently mentioned. And there's nothing that we can't test. The more creative and complex it is, the better. But that's it. That's who we are. That's what we do. That's what we're doing and what we're working on. And just excited to be here amongst all of you. I literally, I enjoy these times. I know I'm constantly going as these conversations will show, but these are really important. And to see us growing and to find, we did 6 of us had breakfast at ASE. It was a great breakfast, phenomenal conversations. Like, I couldn't find 6 of us at a conference for 10 years before, let alone 6 of us sitting at a table having breakfast together. So, well done. Great movement in the right direction. I'm done. I think I went over by like a minute and a half. Thanks, everyone.
And again, let's get it bigger and bigger and bigger. Everyone is invited by far. Let's sit back and let's break bread and have some fun. It's, 45 minutes to maybe an hour and a half of just understanding who we are as individuals and being able to feed into each other as a community. So Chad, thank you so much for that. This organization, these connections is a testament to success. My concern here is that many people don't understand that and they don't see it because we don't express it enough. So I want to make sure that, these chop shops, again, work across the board, but they can work in a biggest capacity if we know where people are winning, what they need, across the board. Before I get into our last speaker of today, I do want to just pause for a hot second and just let you guys know the need is great. I'm going to share with you one story, it's not depressing, but it's something of growth. And I want to make sure you guys understand that it's real. I had an opportunity to attend a jazz concert with my wife about a week and a half ago. Great, in Baltimore area. The guy, his name was Sean Jones, trumpet player. He was celebrating his birthday. He's actually a professor as well. Incredible performance. Him and his wife actually performed there on stage as well. At the end, we're all happy-go-lucky, decided to go to the bathroom. This older gentleman, white gentleman, decides that while we're in the bathroom, he decides he wants to chit chat with me. Not a problem. Okay, great. He talks about, oh, this was great. You guys were wonderful. And at that point, I'm thinking, he thinks that I was one of the trumpet players. Okay, understood. We sit back and we're chit-chatting. And then I decide, let's take this outside of the bathroom. Can we please? And we do. And he goes, you know what? Because one of the sessions talked about change. And he goes, change is really tough. You know what? In the 50s and 60s, things were really great. I really loved it in the 50s and 60s. But right now, Sean, like you're one of the good ones. And I was like, okay. And he goes, Sean, I'm not saying it, but again, for every one good one, there's like 5 bad ones. And I was like, are you referring to Black people? And he was just like, well, you see the news and everything else. And I was just like, wow. And I had to take a breath, and then I had to further educate him in regards to the fact of the society that we've lived in the system, in essence, that was in essence built against so many people of color. And by the end of the conversation, he was a little bit better off, and he's like, oh, okay, I think I understand. But guess what? This gentleman had second row seats to this jazz concert. He went to, and all the performers were African-American, great performance. But in his mind, I was one of the good ones. I was one of the 6 good ones because there's 5 bad ones. And it just blew me away. And I still haven't, while I'm over it, I'm not over it, because to me, again, here's an individual who bought tickets to be in the front line to support and hear something that he really enjoys, and then sat back and thinks, guess what? I'm here, but you're still one of the good ones, because he thought that I was one of the performers, even though we look nothing alike. We just happen to both be African-American. And so when it talks about the fact that there's still progress that needs to be made, guys, please, no one here on this call cannot be touched by this. So please do understand that, again, this organization exists for a reason, and it's to educate and empower. So I just wanted to share that story with you. The next person that we're going to give the floor to, actually, for just 2 minutes, is going to be, because I wanted to learn a little bit about the history, because this organization, in essence, was founded and kind of given its wings by this next gentleman by the name of Mike. And Mike, if you can just sit back and tell us a little bit more about Legion World and all of the different sessions and conferences that you're doing. I think it's important for everybody to know everything that he's doing and stuff that's up and coming.
Yeah, man. You knocked me out with that story. It's crazy to think that people, and this is what's sad, I think, with this world and why it's our mission to get out, not beyond just this call in this group, and be out in the wild, so to speak, is because people are in their own world. They watch their own news. They see their own things out of the news, even though no matter what it is, they're seeing just specific things that feed their own belief systems and all this sort of stuff. And the only way to change that is further exposure and conversations like, unfortunately, you had to have. But man, blows me away when I hear stories like that. But so you caught me off guard a little bit. I'm not going to tell you about lead generation world per se, and the sessions and all that sort of stuff, because y'all all sort of know that. But along the lines of, first of all, Chad, I love you, buddy. What you had to say, and I could listen to Chad talk all day. It gets me pumped up on entrepreneurship and everything that's going on. Just so you know, Chad and I were neighbors years ago, and that's how we met. Literally lived right next to me. So anyway, thank you, Chad, for sharing. And Todd too. I hear like things that I'm growing as an entrepreneur as well. And I'd love to like pick your brain as an operations thing, and how to scale and how to continue to build an organization is something I could probably listen to you all day too on. But you know, I've been in the lead gen industry for 15, 7, I don't know how long now, to be honest with you. But one day it came around, I started doing, I was overweight at one point in time. And my wife at the time was like, hey, you should join do a triathlon with me. And it was a short one. I was like, okay, yeah, I could do that. And this other neighbor was doing it too. And I'm like, I can kick his ass. I can definitely do it. I'm competitive. I'm going to do it. So I started getting into triathlons, and one thing led to another. I started doing Ironmans. And and at the time I started doing triathlons, I thought like running down the block was way too far. You know, no one's running anywhere today. I'll walk or I'll drive. And so to go from that to thinking I can run 26.2 miles after riding 100 miles, after swimming 2.5 miles, sounds completely outrageous. And it was, but somehow over getting a training plan in place and slowly ramping yourself up and doing these things, your reality starts to change and goes, I can do this. In fact, I think I can do pretty well at it. And from 6-8 months ago, I didn't want to run down the street, to a year or so down the road doing 5, 6, 7 Ironmans. It was a complete mind shift that was built through progression of doing things, of taking those steps forward and just kind of moving forward. And so I took that to some, it built me up. I am a doer, a person. I if you want me to like get something going, I will do it. I'll get it going and get started. And my challenge for me as an entrepreneur is building something further than just starting it and getting it going and continuing to do it. And then, there's minutia that goes into building, an organization in a meaningful way that I think all entrepreneurs have to learn about. But going through that now. But lead generation world was really just a time where I just saw an opportunity that I wanted to fulfill for the industry and create something that I wanted. And I thought there was a need. So I just did it. I just said, you know what? I've never put on an event in my life. Never did anything, but I knew I had some support from friends and industry contacts. And so just did it. And I think the sort of moral of the story here is two things. One, just do it. Don't let perceptions of what you may have experienced in the past stop you from ever doing anything in your life, or having conversations or doing something. The only thing that stops us from doing anything is ourselves, like legitimately something up here that's saying, I don't want to do it, or I can't do it, or I'm scared to do it, or what if I fail? It's all bullshit. So you got to put that aside and just go for it. And, and that goes for everything we do, whether that's Blacks in Lead Generation or performance marketing, having conversations, getting things going, starting an organization, hiring people, learning, all this sort of stuff. I think I tell my kids, just go, just do it. Don't worry. Don't worry about failure. Just go. So that's all I have to say today regarding lead generation world.
Thank you for helping to encourage and providing the platform for what we have today. So appreciate that.
Wants to toot their own horn, but like Mike is actually a sponsored triathlete. He's done the biggest Ironman triathletes in the world. His son literally just graduated high school and is now a professional soccer player, and has been brought up to play on the club teams of a couple of the major league soccer organizations. So what he's saying is real. And I was there when he was a fat boy. He wasn't fat, but he was. I tell the story. He hates it. But we drank beer. He wore flip flops. And so when I saw him like he was going to run marathons, I was like, whatever. And then to see him doing it, so he lives it. We're going to talk about a book that you can write. I'll help you. Put it together because you're inspiring. That's it.
I love it. So with that in mind, guys, we have one more person in the chop shop. We're going to finish off with the one of the headliners here. Please, we're going to give Matt the floor to wrap us up.
Well, thanks, Sean. First of all, these are some very difficult conversations to follow. Todd, Chad, Mike, thank you very much for sharing everything that you have with us today. I'll make mine short and sweet. So Matt Tillman, I'm the president of Rate Marketplace. Rate Marketplace is a financial services lead generation company that is specifically focused on financial services and more into mortgage, but we're also in insurance as well as home services. I've been in the industry for over 23 years now. I was looking earlier, I had to figure out, when did I first meet Mike Ferree? And that was in 2006 when he was with a company called 𝘀𝐿𝑒𝑖 Financial, and Mike was actually a client of mine at that time. So it's been great to watch, the evolution of Mike here and going through all of the changes in life, and especially, professionally as well as professionally, and all the things that he's done. So congratulations on that success, Mike. But with longevity in the industry comes a lot of experience. And that experience really comes from relationships. I think one of the things that Todd said that really resonated with me right now is that, success is oftentimes based on the relationships of the people that you're around. And I can honestly say I've been around some pretty amazing people in this industry. But part of it was that I had to define who I was as an individual in this industry. If I go back 23 years, there really wasn't an industry. There were businesses that were involved in lead generation, but lead generation wasn't an industry in itself. I'll tell you a quick story. I remember the first time meeting one of the largest mortgage companies in the country, and the marketing director of that company. We were meeting at a hotel in San Francisco, and he had never met me. We've never seen each other. Zoom didn't exist, so he didn't know what I looked like. I didn't know what he looked like. And we were in a hotel. We were going to meet in the lobby. There were individuals. There were other people that were in the lobby, and they were in these little groups of like 3 or 4 people. And when he asked me to describe who I was, I just said, I'm wearing a blue suit and a white shirt. Well, what ends up happening is that, I saw him walking my way. I had an idea of who he was. And I watched him go into every other group in the hotel and asked them if they were Matt Tillman. And so I heard my name being said. I then figured out that that was him. I was standing by myself. I watched him go around these few groups, and then finally I raised my hand and said, I'm Matt Tillman, I'm right here. And I almost saw his jaw hit the ground. There was a surprise. And the surprise was that I was not the white man wearing the blue suit and white shirt, and that I was indeed this young Black individual representing this marketing company, selling to one of the largest mortgage companies in the country. No issues over that whatsoever. He goes back to the office. I later hired a couple of the members of his team. And when I hired them, they came out. And one of the first things they said was that when he came back to the office, can you believe that he said, oh my God, Matt Tillman is Black. And they were like, does it matter? But I tell you this story only because it's the optics that oftentimes people look at, and they judge and form their own decisions about how you're going to interact with each other. Being in this industry for 23 years, and I've always said to everyone here, Sean and I used to walk by each other and give each other the head nod and continue to move on. The problem with that is that our relationship could have been forged so much longer if we would have taken the time to stop and have that conversation with each other, and then build what we've built today. This could have been done a long time ago. And it's interesting to watch all of these connections within this group, because I think together is where we're creating success. There really isn't an individual here that I would even say is, that billionaire that's, more successful than anybody else. We all aspire to these great financial goals. We can all achieve it together. Todd also said 3 points that I think are very important for us to think about as well. Success is really defined in 3 areas, and I completely agree with this. And it's personal, professional, and financial. I think all of us aspire to be extremely wealthy. We want to be well off. We want to be able to do what's best for ourselves and our families. Professionally, we all aspire for what I would say is really autonomy. As an entrepreneur, we want to be able to do what we can to give ourselves the flexibility in life that we see many other people afford for themselves. And that flexibility allows us to take risks. It allows us to be vulnerable. It allows us to go out there and say, yes, I'm going to go do a triathlon or an Ironman. That's not me. That's Mike. But it allows us it gives us that time to be able to go off and do those things. I think the most rewarding part is the professional or the personal aspect of it. For me, I've gotten to a point now where I feel as though I've checked the check boxes as it relates to financial and professional. It's the personal side of things that becomes extremely important. How can I give back? What can I do to really figure out ways to improve what I may have done in the past so that others don't repeat those same mistakes? How can I communicate more? How can I get out in front of our industry and really be a leader in terms of expressing what's really important? How do I have more of a voice? And I feel like over the last 2 years, that's one of the things that I've really been able to do as a result of just this emergence of DE&I. I am not the spokesperson on DEI, but what I can say is that I'm at least at the table that allows me to have that conversation to really convey and express the opinions of all of us. My goal now is getting more of us at that table, right? That's what's really important from an industry standpoint. So that's one personal side of things for me. The other is really being able to continue to give back. So I am on boards of nonprofit organizations. One is called Opportunity Junction. That is one of the top nonprofits really in the country that helps individuals really get a second chance on life in terms of employment, giving them the basic skills that they need to be able to get the jobs, for example, in an administrative career or even in a medical career, like as a CNA, that would allow them to be able to get the basic skills needed in order to gain or to get into a long-term career. I'm actually becoming the chair of this organization starting later this month for the next year. So it's really something that I'm passionate about, and feel that it's really important for me to give back in that respect. I coach track. I spend a lot of time with my kids. That's really important to me. Being involved in community organizations. We have a local kind of chamber of commerce that I'm very active with. We put on community events So all of these things just help bring together balance. Because at the end of the day, as all of us are entrepreneurs and all of us are running, or many of us are running our own businesses, the problem that ends up coming into this is, how do you find time for yourself, your family, and continue to succeed and excel in what you're doing? And as a result, I look at the things that I'm doing personally and say, what box does this fit in, right? There's the family aspect, there's the community aspect, and then to me now, there's an industry aspect of things. I know we have a minute left, but I will just say this. The one thing that I do need help with is really being able to bring all of us together in a way that allows us to work closer together to better each other. I've given you just a high level of what I do. I know, Chad, you and I should definitely spend some more time to understand, what you're doing in the real estate side of things, and see what I can do to help there and what you can do to help me. But as I've laid out just my background, if there is anything at all that I can do to be of help, or there are things that you think that you can do to help me, please, let's come together. And I think that, this Chop Shop is designed exactly for that, where we can have these ongoing conversations and talk about how we can work better and really create a stronger industry made up of people that work like us. So thanks.
Matt, thank you so very much. Going to have Chop Shops probably once every quarter. However, that does not stop us from reaching out to each and every one. And if we need to, we will sit back and maybe we'll adjust the meeting to just have some maybe kind of a little bit more meet and greets. But please, let's make sure that we look at the upcoming events, get together, whoever's going, take the lead. You know what, start the race, do what, Mike was talking about, the fact is, run it. If you know that you're going to an event, put it out there in the email, put it out there in the chain that you'll be attending in a particular event, and see who else is going to go, so that there can be some additional connection. It starts here. So guys, thank you so much. This was great, well attended. Please spread the word, and we will post things up in our YouTube, and stay connected. Thank you, everybody. It's 1 o'clock. Enjoy your day. Thank you.